Hey guys, Al 2, and I'm back with part 3 of my VKAR Bison repair series. And if you recall, if you saw the first 2 videos, the one where I broke the Bison and we went over in that video what happened and what parts broke and what I had to order and some things I found out extra. The first repair video then was showing that repair. What I found during that, if you recall, was the front diff had very little fluid in it. So because of that, I decided to do a complete tear down of the rear end and the center diff. So we're going to examine those, see what they look like inside. And thirdly, we're going to take a look at this spur and pinion gear in this thing. A lot of guys are reporting this plastic spur gear as they're stripping or ripping up teeth on that thing. So we're going to take a look at that. We're going to replace that, show the mesh and that sort of thing. So stay tuned. I got all that coming up right now. Right on to the back, I went ahead and removed these 3 large countersunk screws and these 4 screws here. We're going to go ahead and remove this skid plate and this cover here as well. Get to our diff, and here's our spur gear. Go ahead and take a closer look at that. Just inspect that spur gear. Go ahead here, and seems like a lot of people are having trouble with these. Uh-oh. I don't know if you can see that, but there's 2 teeth that are sort of ground. 3, a couple right there. I don't know if you can see that or not. I just may go ahead and replace that. I'm not sure. A lot of these teeth look like they're starting to get chewed, and I only ran this a couple times. A couple more right there. Little nicks in the plastic teeth. I'm going to go ahead and get this diff out of here, and I don't know if that's because the mesh on this wasn't right, but I just don't like these plastic spur gears with metal pinions. Just going to go ahead and remove this little cover here, pinion cover. Here's our pinion. Alright, going to flip this back around and go ahead and tear this back end apart so I can get this center diff out. I'm going to go ahead and remove these shocks from the shock tower. Take off our 2 spacers. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is remove this chassis brace down here. Now I'm going to remove these 2 supports right here. There's a little screw and nut. May have to remove the rear bumper to get those out, because I can't get on them. It's a bad angle. Now there's just 2 screws holding that bumper on in the back. Here and here, so we're going to go ahead and get those off. That way I can get my tool in on those nuts. That removed. Now I can get in here on these, get these removed. Number one. Alright, that's all free and clear. Right in the middle back that holds the top of this on. I'm going to go ahead and take that out. Just about got it. Okay, there's a chassis brace. Go ahead and flip this back around. Now we can get to our 1, 2, 3, 4 screws right here. Very tight because they got Loctite on them. Very snug. These might be a little harder to get to. Not sure how I'm going to get that one out with this motor in here. And this ESC. May have to use a small Allen wrench to get these started. Super tight. I mean, really tight. They are too tight. Do not need to be that tight. Having trouble getting these last 2 screws out of here, so I'm thinking the better way would be to remove these 2 screws right here and just drop this whole differential out. I think that will do that. Alright, got that screw out, so now I'm just gonna pull this, try to pull this whole thing apart here. I was finally able to pop this out, and this was really hard to get out of this. Pop this out of this drive shaft. What you need to do is get in here and push these dog bones all the way up, and you barely have enough room to just pop that out the back. But another discovery I've made. I'm going to get in here tight, see if you can see this. Try to get in here right along this edge. The crack that runs right there, and it's cracking this way as well. This whole chassis is cracking right in here. So like I said, this is only a couple of runs. Hope you can see that. Only a couple of runs and already all this damage. So I don't know. As much as I thought this truck was pretty nice, I think this vehicle has some problems. So some more things that you might want to look at that you might run into as well. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get these diffs apart and put new fluid in them, fill them up. But yeah, disappointing now to find those cracks in the chassis right where the spur gear and pinion gear come mesh together. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and remove this spur gear so then we can get at our center diff. 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. And one more here. And you can just take it, rotate it so it lines up and slides right out. Not the worst teeth in the world, but they're getting hammered. Not too bad right there, but that spot right there is really bad. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 screws hold this diff cover on, and they're Phillips. So let's go ahead and get those off. Okay, got the fourth one out. Go ahead and take a look inside. Again, not very much, and dirty too. Dirty and not very much fluid in there. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this out and refill it with some 100K. Alright guys, got our center diff all cleaned up. There was virtually, this one was super dry. I thought the front was dry, but this center one was really dry, and because of it, just a few runs we were already getting a lot of wear in there, and the little bit of fluid that was in there was super dirty from the wearing gears, so this was in desperate need of being done. So I'm going to go ahead and refill with some 100K. 100K is really sticky. I'm going to go ahead and see if we can get that to work down in there a little bit without popping out. These turning that, these want to pop out, but just turning a little bit to get it to get down in there. A little more in there. Very disappointed that this would be this dry. It's just no need for that. I'm going to go ahead and put our cover back on. Get my gasket lined up here with my holes. Alright, I'm going to get these 4 screws back in. I'll be right back. Alright, I removed the rear bulkhead pieces. I'm going to go ahead and get this rear diff opened up. Again, not a whole lot of grease in there where the gears fit in the case, but there's enough there. Going to clean this up and take these 4 screws out and see what this diff looks like inside. Okay, got our 4 screws removed. Let's go ahead and see what it looks like inside. Looks horrible. Looks like a slug of heavy junk in there, and that's about it. It's more like grease. It's not even diff fluid. Alright. Not surprised. The front was the best, which wasn't good. The center diff was super dry, and this here is horrible as well. So going to go ahead and pull these gears out, clean this up, and refill this with some 30K. That'll give me 30K in the front, 100K in the middle, 30K in the back. Just show you how dry that is. there's a little bit of grease on those gears and nothing hardly inside there. Not good. Alright, gonna get this cleaned up, put some 30K in, and I'll be back. I like to put some in and then sort of move these gears to work it down. Now you got to be careful because these gears are going to want to pop up out of there. So don't be moving them real fast. If they do pop out, just push these little tabs mounting that holds them in place. Just push them back down. Just go ahead and work your fluid. See how they pop up. Like to work that down in there. Like so. All right, that's our 3 diffs all cleaned out, refilled with diff fluid. I'm going to go ahead and start putting this back together. Get this rear end done, and that will complete my repair of the Bison. Okay, we got our center diff and our rear diff back together. Got it all mounted here in the housing. Just going to put a little bit of udder butter grease in here. I picked up this udder butter grease from VKAR. It is a waterproof grease, so I know a lot of guys use marine grease, and that's fine as well. Alright, going to go ahead and give this a few turns to get the grease in there, put the case back together. Make sure everything turns nice and smooth. Alright, got my diff cover back on, and these bottom skid plate mounts on the cover to hold the cover together. Now we're going to put our new spur gear back on, and then we're going to get this mounted back into the chassis. Here's our 4 mounting screws for the spur gear, so you kind of line up these little, slide this over those mounting holes with these slots or cutouts in the gear, and then just slide it till the mounting holes line up. And then we got our 4 screws. After seeing that spur gear that I took out, this is a weak link in this vehicle. I don't know if there's going to be any kind of option, or if somebody might find something, but this spur gear is going to get chewed up with all the power that this vehicle has. I just don't see. I just had that little bit of teeth problems, and I only ran it a handful of times there. 2 or 3 times, that was it. This is not an easy replacement. You got to tear a lot of stuff off to get to this. So this is not something you're going to want to be doing every dozen runs, or even less than that. I have no idea. Alright, got our new spur gear on there. I'm going to go ahead and get this differential assembly mounted back in the chassis. It was hard to show you how to fit this back in here, but basically this drive shaft that comes from the front diff. Just try to get your finger underneath the chassis here, which would be the top, and push it back as far as you can this way. And then you just sort of angle this and you just fiddle with it till it just goes in. Just make sure you have everything lined up right and it goes in there, and then you can just sort of, everything just kind of falls into place. So it's a little tricky, but you'll get it. It was a lot harder to get out than it was to get back in. So going to go ahead and get the rest of these components back installed. Hey guys, I'm going to go ahead and stop right here. That was a lot of work tearing that thing down, looking at those diffs, tearing those diffs apart. But I'm going to be back with part 4. In part 4, we're going to put all that stuff back together. And we're also going to take a look at the spur and pinion gear mesh and how to set that. And something else that I found that was wrong when I took a look at that in the truck as well. So I hope you found this video to be some help to you if you have to work on your Bison. But stay tuned. I'm going to have part 4 up shortly that shows us putting all this stuff back together. So I'll see you soon, and thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.